don't let your concern about the shutdown affect you getting help for physical, mental, emotional care. Those are still there, both through the VA and through other services. So take advantage of those, go get that help, and then work with trusted partners like Hire Heroes and others to advance your employment and really get that job where you find purpose.
Welcome to Veteran CEO Magazine, where veterans lead the way. I'm Jay Hernandez, and my guest today is Ross Dickman, CEO of Hire Heroes USA. Ross, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Jay. It's so good to be here.
I really appreciate you making the time today because we're talking about the government shutdown and the impact that it has to transitioning service members, veterans, and their families. So just to get us started off, just a quick introduction for those perhaps unfamiliar with your organization. Can you just briefly describe who Hire Heroes USA is and what is your mission?
Absolutely. Hire Heroes USA, we're a veteran serving nonprofit organization. We focus on empowering transitioning military members, veterans, and military spouses to succeed in the civilian workforce. And we do that through one-on-one coaching focused on employment, interviewing techniques, resume development, networking, and through a robust system of corporate partnerships. And we've been doing this work for 20 years. So we've seen the ebbs and flows and changes in the transition environment and put over 110,000 veterans into new jobs through our work.
The immediate impact, let's talk about what that is and what that service gap is. So with this government shutdown, we know that it is impacting transition assistance services for people who are about to get out of the military and reintegrate back into civilian life. So just looking at that, thinking about who is all really being impacted by that and how significant is Hire Heroes USA's role in filling that critical service gap where these federal services might be suspended.
Setting aside whatever someone's opinions might be of transition assistance program, it aims to address immediate needs towards education, employment, service benefits activation, and understanding their benefits as they're leaving military service. It's an interagency event. And while there's a lot of touch points on it, really 3 agencies lead transition assistance programs. The Department of War has the primacy of responsibility, the Department of Labor, and the Department of Veterans Affairs. Right now, in terms of the service area that we're mostly focused on, which is employment, most of the base level transition assistance programs through the Department of War, so the the individualized counseling form and connection to base TAP services are still open across most installations. It looks that way. Department of Labor programs, though, which are really about activating and connecting into the labor market, and Veterans Affairs programs, other than benefits, seem to be kind of hit or miss at this time. One that's specifically not activated is their Veterans Readiness and Employment, otherwise known as VRNE. So that one is shut down right now. So as we think about the gap areas, like core functions are still happening. But when you think about the direct coaching that you're going to need, the one-on-one support, the tailored connection, and really understanding how to disaggregate and apply your skills into the labor market and overcome the pay gap and the opportunity gap, that's not really existing. The thing is, we've always been positioned at bridging from where the federal program stops to what service members need to connect into employers. So that gap might be a little bit wider right now, but we're capable and able and have the capacity to take on that additional service component of it. And we've always served active duty military who are transitioning and preparing, thinking about their future. So we just want to make sure that they know that we're still here and able to serve them through that.
So addressing the impact to transitioning service members, putting ourselves in their shoes right now. These are people who've committed to separating or retiring from the military. Their families are getting ready for the transition. They're facing a job market now with some new uncertainty. What are some specific, perhaps immediate steps that Hire Heroes USA is taking to support them, especially those who can no longer access some of these career transition preparation courses that they were perhaps counting on?
The first thing we're doing is just reestablishing market presence, making sure that service members and veterans know that we are not only here to support them, but that they're eligible for our services. any veteran, any service member, any rank, it doesn't matter when they left, what their plan is, any military spouse as well. It doesn't matter when they met their partner, if their partner is still connected to the military service, or if they had an honorable or dishonorable discharge. We have a very broad and inclusive aperture in terms of who is applicable for our services. It's really any and all who've served this nation. So first is making sure they know that if they're struggling to find support from the federal systems through the shutdown, is to leverage trusted nonprofit agencies that exist to cover that gap. Organizations like us, organizations like Operation Homefront for critical financial assistance. There's a host of amazing organizations that are doing that work to make sure that they are there to address them. The other thing I'll say is that us, along with about 25 other nonprofit organizations, did sign on to support a initiative to Congress to recommend that through the shutdown that we keep military pay active and still continuing, since they are one of the service components that are expected to work through the shutdown across the board. And so, we're hopeful that Congress takes that seriously and that moves forward to, moving past the shutdown as effectively as possible. The great thing is that VA primary health care, mental health care, those services are still open and active. And so if someone's not sure around, where did the shutdown impact their ability to get help, if they're dealing with a condition and that condition is exacerbated by, anxiety around their job search, is don't let your concern about the shutdown affect you getting help for physical, mental, emotional care. Those are still there, both through the VA and through other services. So take advantage of those, go get that help, and then work with trusted partners like Hire Heroes and others to advance your employment and really get that job where you find purpose.
Addressing the financial strain and urgency that this may cause for federal employees. That shutdown might be causing some financial stress, if they're missing paychecks, if there's job insecurity. So how is Hire Heroes USA support structured to assist these furloughed workers, some who may or may not be veterans or family members? So in this case, they're unsure when they're going to return to work. And that they also might be facing the possibility of permanent job loss post-shutdown. So really thinking about that financial strain. How can you help support?
One thing is, we're really focused on employment as an organization, but we work with amazing partner organizations who address other needs and gap areas. And so we're really wanting to make sure that our partners who provide financial assistance and are positioned in those ways to help with bridge funding or critical financial care, anything like that, that resource is being open, accessible, that we're communicating that in with the audiences that we're serving. So, groups like Operation Homefront, who do a critical financial assistance coverage, groups like the Code of Support Foundation, USAA, which for USAA members, they're doing advances on paychecks, I think with no interest on it, to make sure that military families who are struggling have an opportunity to kind of bridge that gap. And there's a host of others. We work through consortiums as well to make sure that information is being communicated and shared. I'm doing a disservice about the number of organizations that exist to help cover those financial gaps. So if there's a partner group that I did not mention and they're a little upset that I didn't say it, I will try to follow it back up with you, Jay, with the list, or you'll see it coming through our channels. But there are a lot of great organizations. And then in addition, as we mentioned, really effectively kind of working together through this consortium of groups to lobby and speak to legislatures around making sure that that pay gap for critical employees who are working through the shutdown, that we're making sure that we are taking care of those employees as best as we can.
For a lot of people when they're transitioning out of the military, the feeling is isolating. You're getting out of something that is you've known perhaps for 20 years, perhaps just 4 years, but either way, it's an isolating feeling. And understanding that when you're getting out, you're also entering into another tribe, and there's so many different resources that are there to help you as you make that transition. Once you're a military member and afterwards you're a veteran, that is a part of a group of people who have come together. They want to be able to support you. And that's exactly what you're talking about here, is all of those different resources that are still available for them. So as they're facing this uncertainty, understanding those resources are still there.
That's absolutely right. And one of the things we believe is, we're not trying to, we can't solve all problems for individuals and for families. We're really good at employment intervention and coaching around that. That's what we focus on. But there are so many fantastic organizations that do amazing work in their areas, and we want to share that, make sure, if you're having food insecurity related to financial insecurity, that like the Military Family Advisory Network has food support initiatives, and other local organizations do too. And so it just starts with one right step to a high quality, trusted organization that's part of these networks that are interacting. And then we make sure we get you around to other organizations that can support other needs.
You've talked a lot about the unique resources that you bridge beyond the immediate job search assistance. And you as we've gone through each of these questions, you've talked a lot about what those other essential resources are, some of which Hire Heroes USA provides, some of which other organizations provide. Just talk to me a little bit about, like, during the shutdown, being able to communicate that and the availability of that to those who are going to be in need for it.
It's going to be a stressful time period for any federal employee, and even extended families and other veterans and service members as they try to figure out, the system of support that they're used to is going to look different through this time period. And they're maybe not even sure where a pressure point or pain point will come from that. So, the one thing we want to try and do is make sure that we're over communicating without being overbearing. So part of that is leveraging, LinkedIn as our primary channel in communication, different information and messaging through Instagram and connecting to families, as well as really leaning on the power of how our support system works. Employment coaching, we have found, produces the best outcome through one-on-one, highly personalized human-to-human interaction, supported with technology, supported with employment connection systems. It really comes down to a person-to-person interaction. And so making sure we're informing both our coaches on our team, our transition specialists, with all the tools and resources at their fingertips to support their unique client needs, and then engaging those clients as well to be advocates and supporters of our broader military community. Thinking about taking care of their battle buddies, taking care of their families, by equipping them with those resources in the ways that's, not annoying them, but making sure that the resources are accessible and that they can leverage them.
And this is probably something I need to do personally, but just a note to the people in this community. If you check on your battle buddies, reach out to them, see how they're doing, because that's just one of those areas, because sometimes they might be going through something, you don't realize it. So for all of us, veterans, family members, service members still in, just check on your battle buddies.
That's it. Yep.
What's the single most important piece of advice that you have for transitioning service members, veterans, military families right now? Perhaps something we haven't covered yet. And what's the key message that you really want them to know about Hire Heroes USA?
Early help, like lean into early help and ask for help, right? Listen, you're highly skilled through the military, and as military spouse, you've carried a tremendous program management, project management, like managing all of those challenges through change, upstart, gosh knows what, right? Both the military member and the spouse are tremendous assets in the workforce, but it doesn't connect very well when you think about like the traditional hiring markets and the work that you might do. Like I flew Apache helicopters, or if you were in the infantry, almost none of that work on surface level on paper makes sense in any kind of role other than the military. So you need to leverage the help. Trusted partners who have done this and proven it. One of the things that we really believe in is that, a service member and military spouse's career journey is about them. It's not about the employer partners that we have. It's not about where, the next best economic opportunity is, or where there's a skills gap across the market. It's where will they be in a role where they feel a sense of purpose and pride, where they're being paid fairly, where they have the opportunities for mobility and growth that they want, and that they can invest in themselves, their community, and their family. That's it. those choices have to drive your thinking. And so lean into that early, get help early. Those who prepare tend to do better in the labor market. And right now, the economy being what it is, and through this shutdown, hiring cycles are taking longer than you expect. So starting earlier gets you a critical competitive advantage because you can network more effectively and be top of that bucket of applicants when it comes that time.
Ross, thank you so much for joining us today. We really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, Jay. It was a real honor and pleasure. And thanks for all you're doing to get this message out and connect with veterans, military families, and help make sure they're getting the help they need.
And Ross Dickman with Hire Heroes USA. And this is Veteran CEO Magazine, where veterans lead the way.